to the West Tigers podcast. Eddie Otto, we are up to episode number 71, and football is officially back. A bit of a one-sided, lopsided sort of game last night, the Eels and the Brokers. But it was. I thought there was some good things in the game with those changes. That 6-again rule, I kind of liked it.
G'day, Joel. It was great to have the footy back, and that was the thing I was most interested about watching this first game back was the rule changes. And I only watched the first probably half an hour intently, but I was very encouraged by what I saw. I don't know if that was just the way the game panned out, but just less stoppages, more football fatigue. We saw some good tries and maybe less wrestling at half an hour. So Peter Volandis at the moment, Joel, he can't do a thing wrong. It's only one game, but what did you like the one ref? I didn't notice that was one or two out there.
Yeah, less adjudication, so less conferences, and I thought the video referee decisions, which were all fairly easy decisions, I suppose. They only took one or two quick looks. That all seemed quicker as well, so the game seemed to flow a lot better. So hopefully that's a sign of things to come. We'll talk about all the other games and give our tips for the rest of round number 3. The West Tigers team to take on the Sharks tomorrow afternoon, 5:30 at Bankwest. I was a little bit surprised by some of the selections. Corey Thompson not there, Elijah Taylor not there. Not a bad-looking team, nonetheless.
Yeah, pretty strong-looking team. I texted a couple of mates similar on Tuesday afternoon. I said, it's been a while since I've sort of looked at the Tigers 17, just compared to looking at all the NRL teams and thought, geez, there's a fair bit of strike power there. But, Joel, if you'd said to me, there was going to be a 3-month lockdown and players were going to come out of a lockdown, you'd think two of the most professional guys to come out of lockdown would be like Corey Thompson and Elijah Taylor. So that's what sort of threw me a little bit. There's no sign of any injuries and they're not in the 21. So were you as surprised as me about that?
I was, I suppose. I think, and if you look at things like Alex Twal being named at lock, and if you look at the bench, I think Michael Maguire has been having a bit of a think about these rule changes and thinking that the game might be played in a slightly different style. I don't think that really affects Corey Thompson. I think most people would pick Corey Thompson ahead of Robert Jennings, most West Tigers fans. So I'm not exactly sure about what the mindset was with not having Corey in the team. But I can certainly see that maybe Elijah had to make way for Alex Twal, but just a bit strange that he wasn't named on the extended bench, given you've got Matt Eisenhuth who hasn't been in the frame at all. And I don't think Elijah had a bad game against the Knights, to be frank.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. You'd think coming off this big break, sort of fitness would be a big key indicator. And ET is going to be on fit and firing, but it's interesting with Corey Thompson because his first 2 games, to be honest, weren't very good. I know he's been reliable for us for the best part of the last 2 years, but I think in the trial game, Madge preferred Robert Jennings on the wing and sort of swapped Dewey and Thompson, and maybe he's just decided that's going to be a shootout, and if Corey can't win that shootout, then he's on the reserve bench on the wing. But Robert Jennings is going to have to step it up because Madge has certainly shown a fair bit of faith in him. Yeah,
I mean, and to be honest with Robert Jennings, I mean, he's had some lackluster games. Most of his games that he's played for us have been lackluster, but he hasn't had too many howlers, I suppose you'd say. I mean, he's been safe but not threatening is probably the best way to put Robert Jennings' performance for West Tigers over the last 12 months or so. Whereas Corey Thompson, he is out there and he is trying his best. But at fullback, I don't think he's a fullback. He made some errors and I think he's lost a bit of confidence. But unfortunately, there's no reserve grade for him to be able to get that confidence back. So it's a bit odd.
No, well, he'll have to be death riding Robert Jennings to get his spot back. But I think you summed it up first, Joel, lackluster. I mean, even you say he hasn't been many diabolical games, but even his run meters for me were disappointing. Like last year, I think Thompson and Jennings were on opposite wings at times, and Thompson would often outgain him. And he's not the size of Robert Jennings, so I just want to see a little bit more up-tempo in Robert Jennings' game because he is a specialist winger, I think, more so than Thompson.
Nofaluma had a pretty, not one of his best games against the Knights. Would you have maybe made room for Corey Thompson in front of David Nofaluma based on that Knights performance, if you were going to be that harsh?
I would have gone with Thompson and Nofaluma. as my two wingers, ahead of Jennings. So I think none of them have really nailed that spot down, and it'll probably be a competition all year if they're going to be inconsistent. So those two get the first crack, but I probably would have gone with Thompson ahead of Jennings.
Okay. Good to see Moses Mbai back and lining up in the centres. I think that'll help us defensively on that side of the field. And surely Leilua's got to have, BJ Leilua's got to have a better game than he did against Newcastle. I'm expecting the back line to fire a little bit better. I think Adam Dewey is the natural choice for fullback at this point. So I'm happy he's been picked there. As far as I'm concerned, it's his to lose.
Yeah, big game for both those two new recruits, Dewey and Joey Leilua. It was that round 2 game. I know it was a shocking game across the park, and particularly from that was it right edge defensively. But it was a really hot day, and they did turn over a lot of ball. So you can be made to look very, very bad in defence, I think, if you on those hot days. Whereas now you get to the, we're starting to enter winter now, a lot of night games, and Joey Leilua, I think that's where he might come into his own. Dewey, lot to see with Dewey so far. He's only played a couple of games for the club, but if he wants to nail down that long-term fullback position, Joel, he's probably going to have to perform this year, because you wouldn't say the Tigers are, there's still a chance of going on the open market and finding someone, aren't they?
Yeah, I think they are for sure. Yep. Harry Grant, we discussed whether Harry would get straight into the number 9 jersey. That seemed to be that was going to be the case, and it turned out to be the case. Looking forward to seeing him play. And Thomas McKaylee lining up pretty much one of his first times starting in the front row for West Tigers. So it's not a bad looking front line. Alloy A, Harry Grant and Thomas McKaylee.
Yeah, I mentioned the last couple of podcasts, I'm really looking forward to seeing Harry Grant. I think the mainstream media were mentioning him a fair bit this week. Matty Johns gave him a big rap, and even a couple of the journos on that NRL 360 are usually fairly downcast on the Tigers. Paul Crawley and might have been James Hooper said that they think the West Tigers pack can really make an impact this year. And they mentioned McKaylee and they mentioned Alloy, and obviously debutant coming on this week on the bench. So it's we said at the start of the year that forward pack has potential, Joel, but they were sort of blown off the park against the Knights. So it's about putting it into action now.
Alex Twal at lock. I like the move. I mean, it goes perfectly with what I've been talking about, having a bit more muscle, and I think it works well. I mean, if you look at Gallen and what he's done with the Sharks over the last 5 years at lock, I think it's a pretty good blueprint.
Yeah, you must have been emailing Madge during the week team selection. You've been beating that drum for a little while. So, it's not a unusual move these days, is it, to move sort of a mobile front rower, even a big front rower like Alex Twal, into that lock position. I guess the concern I have coming into this game, Joel, is not so much of the past 2 years that the lack of strike power. It's just the defensive question marks. There's going to be a lot of guys defending next to each other that haven't before. Harry Grant in the middle with McKaylee, and then the edge is different. And that's probably the thing that worries me the first couple of weeks back, is the defensive question mark.
A little bit of feedback from fans on West Tigers Forum and on our Facebook page about the bench. It's certainly not the bench. Aside from Chris Lawrence, it's pretty much not the bench. Well, I think you had Billy Walters on the bench in your team last podcast. But Oliver Clark, which I'm glad to see he's back in the mix for first grade. Billy Walters, who is a very good super sub. Chris Lawrence, and making his debut, Alex Safar. And that came a little bit out of left field, but good to see another youngster getting a go. And, there's a bit of mixed talk on the forum about people who have watched Alex play. He has maybe not been as effective as other people seem to believe he has been. So it's going to be good to see how he goes. Yeah,
I'm blank canvas with that one, Joel. I haven't seen Safar play a lot, so I'll wait and see. But I believe he's predominantly a back rower, right? Yeah, so that's an interesting sort of surprising bench for. We've talked about Maguire wanting power, but maybe it is the fact this rule change is going to make the game with more fatigue and less stoppages, and he needs a more mobile bench. I don't think he'll want to play Billy Walters on the bench for more than maybe 3 or 4 games. I think he'll want a hooker to play 80 minutes, but that's fair enough. Chris Lawrence is not the best impact player, but reliable. And Oliver Clark getting the nod. Looks like the nod. We don't know if there'll be late changes, but I was surprised that maybe no Musgrave or Eisenhuth had one more big body on the bench.
Yeah, I would have thought that Cheekham and Musgrave were specialists to be on the bench, but they've been named on that extended bench, as you say. Josh Reynolds also there. At this stage, probably unlikely to get a game, and Matt Eisenhuth as well. So we're just going to have to wait and see what happens before the game tomorrow afternoon. There may be some more changes. How are you feeling at this point? I've got to say I'm pretty confident. I think we're going to do well.
I think it's a sort of game, a 50-50 game that we have to win in this shortened season. We got a really difficult 6 or 7 weeks ending the year. I think there's Roosters, Parramatta, Storm, all the teams on paper that look like they're going to be really good. So these first 2 weeks are a big opportunity against the Cronulla side that's in a bit of turmoil already before a ball's kicked off. But they have had our number, Joel, I think, the past 5 years. We haven't played the Sharks too well. We used to in the past, but they've still got some formidable talent, even though it appears to be, cracking apart at the seams there.
Yeah, they're definitely at that point where the team is going to be changing and morphing over the next couple of years. And the Bronson Cherry thing has been a distraction they didn't need, and also the fact that he's a real strike weapon that they're going to be without, well, at least for this game. You had some thoughts on what's been going on with him?
I don't know. We need to come up with a catchy little segment name like Eddie's Rant or something like that, because I've had enough of Cronulla, Joel. I just think that I think they should be investigated straight away, because they reckon, I was listening to one of the shows the other night, that this kid, that there was sort of hot rumours that he was doing this throughout the juniors. And it just leaves a sour taste in your mouth, Joel, because, last year, that was a deciding game for the top 8, and there was a game, I think, 4 or 5 weeks before that where I think Bronson Cherry scored the winning try against Penrith. So it's fine margins. And when you find out a player had, it looks like this has been going on for a while. I think, did they say it was 5 different anabolic steroids? It doesn't look like it's sort of the Shane Warne excuse where, my mum gave me this tablet and I didn't look what it was. There was no denial in his little grab the other night. So I guess what I'm saying, Joel, is I just think, Cronulla, so many black eye for the game, but that club, a history of cheating over the past 5 or 6 years, salary cap, drugs, you name it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well said. You can't argue with it. And when you think about it from West Tigers' perspective, it's when you have teams that are doing these things, and we keep coming 9th. And I know that we've got to improve ourselves. There's no doubt about that. But you think to yourself, well, when is this going to swing around, and when are things going to start going a little bit more in our way? Because I think from what I can see of the organisation, touch wood, we are doing the right things and trying to move in the right direction. So, let's hope that corrects itself in the not too distant future. We're due for a bit of good luck. I think we have little patches of good luck. A few little things go our way, but the last few years it's been. I think the karma, for some reason, karma's run against us. It's about time that flowed around again.
Yeah, it's. I suppose because it's been 8 years without finals, you generally, I'm sure Madge would be saying you're not going to get the rub of the green. Whereas I do remember when we did make those final series in 2005 and Tim Mander was referee, you don't think too much about the refs because you're generally getting some of those 50-50s because you're a top team. So I think even though I'm ranting and raving about Cronulla, you're right. We've got to look after our own backyard, and that means getting more wins on the board. Yeah,
and we've got to exact some revenge starting with this game, which I really hope we get the 2 points in. Should we continue on with our tips? Did you get your tips in the West Tigers podcast tipping competition?
I didn't, Joel. I've been all over the place today. You're going to have to remind me of my login because it's been a couple of months. I've forgotten my password. So I would have tipped. Oh, I don't know who I would have tipped. I probably would have tipped Brisbane being at home. So I would have been on a duck egg anyway. So who did you tip?
I tipped the Broncos, and that was the margin game for me. I tipped the Broncos by 2, and on paper, I had some pretty good reason, to be confident that it was going to be a close game. But it didn't turn out that way. The Eels have got some strike power. I still think they've got some weaknesses there. I'm not 100% convinced with them. But those wingers, the second rowers, the hooker's a good player. So, and obviously they're forward, the Regan Campbell-Gillards and Junior Paula. It's a strong team, but I don't think they're quite there, and they're not quite at the level of a few other teams
I hope you're right. And I sort of laughed a bit in pre-season when people said, Parramatta are premiership favourites. But tell you what, they're looking, I know it was only one game, but there's a lot of lot of talent there. So let's hope it goes wrong somewhere down the line.
In the game tonight, the Titans up against the Cowboys, and I have gone for an upset. I've gone for the Titans. Don't ask me why, other than the fact that we've been through the COVID period for 8 weeks and things might be a little bit topsy-turvy. I just think that the Cowboys didn't really fill me with a whole lot of confidence in that first game that I watched them in, and I just got a feeling the Titans are going to win.
I'll stick with North Queensland just based on the fact that Titans were pretty average those first 2 games, but I think that's coach under a bit of pressure this year, Paul Green. I think they're the way they play is a bit stale. So they've got, again, big signing, Valentine Holmes, and talented roster. So they'll need to be in the top 8, you'd think.
The big one that everybody's looking forward to, Souths and the Roosters. I've gone for Souths. Should be a good game.
Yeah, a bit of fuel thrown on the fire this week. It was good to see Adam Reynolds. He came out and said, obviously the Roosters are the most hated club, and he said, I think someone else was throwing the quote at him that it'll be an advantage for the Roosters this season, Joel, because they're used to playing in front of no crowds. That old one. But Trent Robinson fired back. He said, well, we're obviously inside his head already. So that's a tasty game as it is with Latrell and all that. But I just think Souths are in a mess at the moment. I don't think they know where their players' heads are at. I think Roosters will win.
Okay. We differ on that one. Warriors and the Dragons. Hard one to tip, but I just think the Warriors might win. What I saw of the Dragons earlier in the season didn't fill me with much confidence at all. I know the Warriors are probably going to struggle this year, but yeah, I just, for some reason, went for the Warriors.
You've gone rogue this week, Joel, after a couple of months off. You've tipped the Warriors and the Titans in the 1 week, so you'll be a genius if you'll be top of the tipping comp if you get them both right. But yeah, I'm not overly confident in George, but I think, geez, I have to win this game. I think I've tipped Warriors for my readjusted ladder, Joel. After 2 rounds, I've tipped the Warriors for the spoon. So I think Dragons will win.
All right, we'll see you on that one. The Tigers and the Sharks. I've gone for the Tigers. I think the Tigers by 6.
Yeah, I think close game. I think Luke Brooks and Harry Grant, really excited to see that combination for the first time. I think we'll win by 4.
By 4. Storm and the Raiders should be a good game, and I've gone for the Storm. It's always hard to tip against it.
Especially off a break, Joel. They've never, ever lost in round 1 under Craig Bellamy. They rarely ever lose in Melbourne, although they lost twice to Canberra in Melbourne last year, which makes me even more confident that Melbourne will win because Craig Bellamy will not surely allow them to lose 3 games in a row to Canberra in Melbourne. But, yeah, I think these will be 2 of the top 4 teams for me. So, great game. I'll go Melbourne. Knights
and Panthers. I was impressed by what I saw from the Knights in that game in round 2. I thought, yeah, but they're on their way up. I think the Knights, I've tipped them to beat the Panthers.
Yeah, I think Newcastle can win this game. I think big out, no Nathan Cleary. So let's hope Newcastle can win, John.
And the Sea Eagles up against the Bulldogs. Everybody's gone Manly, and I'm no different.
Yeah, Manly have got too much talent for Canterbury. Canterbury seem to have no trouble competing, but scoring points might be the problem for them. So Manly by a couple of tries.
All right. There's a story on the West Tigers podcast website that Declan has written, which is very good. It's about talking about the West Tigers' options should Benji Marshall retire or go to Super League at the end of the year. It's worth a read. And there's been no concrete news about that other than teams possibly sounding Benji out. I won't really ask you too much about that, Eddie, because nobody really knows what's going to happen there. We just need to see how Benji plays as well. But I just thought I'd mention that for people to go and have a look and read of. And Josh Reynolds will be appearing on 60 Minutes this week, talking about what happened with that relationship. So that should be an interesting one. But aside from that...
Maybe we can count that as an appearance for Josh Reynolds, Joel.
That's right.
Another game.
Exactly. But aside from that, there's really not much West Tigers news going on this week. So we just need to get through the game and we'll come back and we'll talk about post-game early next week. And hopefully, fingers crossed, with 2 points in the bank.
Yeah, let's hope so, Joel. It's going to be an interesting season, not going to games, having to watch from home. We might try and organise a few where we can do podcasts a bit quicker after a game to get back to the fans.
Yeah, definitely. Yep, not this week because it's my birthday. So
happy birthday.
Thank you, Eddie. All right, we'll touch base again in a few days.
All right, thanks, mate.